I'm worried about Biden's debate with Trump this week. Robert Reich. Trump has convinced many Americans that stridency is a sign of strength, while truth and humility signal weakness. I just turned 78, and frankly I'm scared about what might come down on Thursday evening when the oldest candidates ever to compete in a presidential race debate each other. I'm less worried that Joe Biden will suffer a mental lapse or physically stumble than I am that Biden will look weak and Donald Trump appear strong. One of Trump's most successful ploys has been to frame the upcoming election as a contest between strength and weakness, and to convince many Americans that stridency and pugnacity are signs of strength, while truth and humility signal weakness. In 1960, when I watched John F. Kennedy square off against Richard Nixon, character and temperament were the most important variables. According to the legend, most people who listened to the first debate on the radio called it a draw or thought Nixon had won, but Kennedy won handily among television viewers. Television hurt Nixon, and not just because of his paler complexion. Kennedy stared directly into the camera when he answered each question, but Nixon looked off to the side to address the various reporters who asked questions, which came across as shifting his gaze to avoid eye contact with the public, a move that seemed to show evasiveness, the character flaw that had earned Nixon the moniker Tricky Dick. I last watched a tape of the Kennedy-Nixon television debate in 1992, when sitting beside Bill Clinton, who used it to prepare for his debate with George H.L. Bush and Ross Perot. Clinton wanted to emulate Kennedy's character, his confidence, humor, and optimism. Perot's whiny indignation turned viewers off. George H.L. seemed over the hill. Clinton was effusive and charming and connected with viewers. Which brings me back to character. Over 78 years, I've met or observed a small number of people in American public life whom I characterize as vile. Senator Joseph McCarthy, Governor George Wallace, and Speaker Newt Gingrich come immediately to mind, along with Rush Limbaugh and Roger Ailes. What made them vile to me was their cynical opportunism, the eagerness with which they exploited people's fears to gain power or notoriety, or both. All had the character of barnyard bullies. Donald Trump is the vilest by far. Trump's loathsomeness extends to every aspect of his being, his continuous stream of lies, the eagerness with which he seeks to turn Americans against each other, his scapegoating of immigrants, his demeaning of women and the disabled, and Trump's utter disrespect for the office of the presidency, for the laws of the land, for the United States Constitution, for the senators and members of Congress and staff and police whose lives he intentionally endangered on 6 January 2021, and for hundreds of thousands of election workers whose lives he directly or indirectly threatened with his baseless claims of election fraud. Character will not be debated on Thursday night, but I hope Americans who have not yet made up their minds or who are wavering in their support of Joe Biden will pay attention to it. Character must be, on the 2024 ballot. I remember debating Arizona's former Republican Governor Jan Brewer before the 2016 election. I asked her whether she thought Trump had the character and temperament to be president. When Brewer temporized, I asked again. Finally, she said yes. Her answer may have been the most dishonest thing anyone said during that election season, other than Trump's own rapacious lies. A few days ago, I was talking with a young conservative who admitted that Trump was an odious thug, in his words, but argued that the U.S. and the world had become such a mess that we need an odious thug as president.